Where in the world is Jed Hoyer? We're trying to figure that out next.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Please support the show and be a part of the Locked On Cubs community by following on all audio platforms. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on the YouTubes. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Today's Tuesday episode is presented by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. We are going to try to complete a search for Cubs president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, within the next 15-20 minutes. And there's a lot to say about the Cubs prez. Sam, where would you like to start?
Well, I think we've been very critical on this show of David Ross, and I think sometimes when you do that, you have to also be critical of Jed Hoyer. So I think it's very, I think it's time maybe to have that Jed Hoyer conversation, and I am in the camp of wait and see still with Jed. I always said going into this season, I thought 2023 was going to be the year of evaluating David Ross, and obviously that hasn't gone well so far. And 2024, if they're still not even competing for the postseason, then it would be time for Jed Hoyer. But I'm interested to hear kind of what you think, because my whole thing with Jed Hoyer is it's not even the 2-year anniversary of when he sold everybody. Right. And 2 years later, we have a team that we are pretty adamant that they're underachieving, and a pretty good roster. And he's taken the farm system and he's turned it around. Now he's made mistakes. I mean, he's completely misevaluated this bullpen. And Jameson Taillon's off to a bad start. And there's a lot of things, but overall, I still think long-term, I have confidence in Jed Hoyer. I just think there needs to be some tweaks. But time's running out on that too.
For the most part, I would say Jed Hoyer has been successful in the trade market.
Right.
And he's been average to below in the free agent market. A lot of times that has been with players on the so-called margins. Some of the time it's been with bigger name players, but for whatever reason, he has not been able to sign enough people that have produced value for this ball club. Meanwhile, he's made just some outstanding trades. I mean, 2 summers in a row where most of your top prospects are from trades either from July of 21 or July or August of 22.
Right.
And so interesting to see where that shift, if any, moves forward, especially try to get better at the free agent market and still leverage some trades, whether that's, hopefully not this summer, but certainly this winter again. And there's a lot of things that I'd like to ask Jed. I'd like to ask Jed about the margins. I'd like to ask Jed about why this club is so bad in the clutch. Sure. I'd like to ask Jed about the lack of a reliable bullpen. And finally, I'd like to ask Jed, what are your thoughts on wasting good seasons from 9 players on your roster?
Right.
Horner, Swanson, Happ, Suzuki, Bellinger, Stroman, Steele, Smiley, Morel. Shoot, I'd even put Yan Gomes in there. That's 10 players, man.
Right.
10 of your 26 players are having a good season, and it's all for naught right now.
Yeah.
20 and 26. I get it. They were building for the future. I get it. It makes you shudder if they didn't trade the core. I understand. but I thought the rebuild was over.
Yeah, I don't think they're rebuilding anymore, but I also don't think they're in a win now mode. I think they're in a tweener phase. I agree with what you said, and I think that's the next step for Jed as a president of baseball ops is to figure out the margins. I think he comes from a very analytical school where he really believes that there's randomness in that stuff and that a lot of it comes down to luck. And I think he has to handle that the organization better because this just isn't a recent thing. The Cubs were terrible on the margins most of April and May last season as well. They just had a worse team, so they couldn't hide it as well. The Cubs are 1-11 in their last 12 games decided by 2 runs or less. That's not you can't attribute that to luck. And part of Jed Hoyer's failures right now is that he's married to this manager, and this manager isn't managing well. But I think when you're evaluating a president of baseball ops, you have to look at the organization from the top down. And I think people don't realize that Jed was left with a really rough hand from Theo Epstein. A lot of a lot of guys in contract years, a lot of guys struggling, and it could have been a lot worse than this. So that's why I have a little bit more patience with Jed. But it's an organization-wide failure right now at the top of the organization, which is the big league team, which is the team that matters. And it needs to be fixed. But I do think Jed has hit enough doubles and triples and even a couple home runs like the Bellinger signing that it gives me hope that he knows what he's doing. But we have to figure out the margins going forward.
Yeah, and should a franchise of this value and this size of market ever be in an in-between year, like you say?
Yeah.
Perhaps that's a conversation for a different program. But I'll be keeping an eye on these things. My thing with Jed right now that we're getting to in the title,
right,
is in times of trial and times of trouble right now, where is he?
Sure.
When the Cubs return home 100%. On Tuesday, please step out of the office building and take a few questions, because I do think that where Theo absolutely excelled, one of his hallmarks, quite frankly, was transparency, even though the Chicago Sun-Times never understood that. Rick Morrissey and Rick Tellender and Gordon Wittenmeyer. But Theo was always transparent. And, Jed Hoyer, I think, does lack some of that in some cases. I don't know if it's at a major scale, but I would like him to address some of these things as a fan. I'd like to hear from him during the season. Yeah,
I think the fact that he hasn't spoke during the 6-16 stretch outside of the day they brought Mervis up isn't right. The in between year money thing is a Ricketts thing, not a Hoyer thing.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think
where's Ricketts been?
I mean, Ricketts is trying to convince everybody to get a mocha at the Starbucks nearby. No, Ricketts is. Anyway, I agree with you though.
My dad won't like that one.
The lack of transparency with Jed, they hide, wait for the win streaks. I agree. My overall thing with Jed Hoyer is, I think he's done enough. Again, I don't think people understand what he was left with. Chris Bryant.
Sure.
Let's just quickly break it down. Chris Bryant, contract year. You turn him into Killian, who's a half asset at this point. Canario, I'd say, is a full asset. And Chris Bryant and his contract, I would say, with his health issues, is a liability. Javier Baez and his current contract is a liability. You turned him into, before his contract, into PCA, which you could make the case is probably your number one asset as an organization.
Right.
When you're just evaluating trade value, PCA is your number one asset. You got that for a guy that really is a sunk cost at this point in his major league career. Anthony Rizzo is probably the one they'd like to have back, albeit Alcantara is a nice asset because Anthony Rizzo was really the heartbeat of the organization, and he is still producing at a pretty high level, albeit in a arcade right field ballpark. Contreras, I think they dodged a bullet there.
Right.
Schwarber, they'd probably like to have back. But Bellinger, in 2 years, he's kind of built like your core group of players. I don't like using that word, but, Bellinger won't be there. But Horner, Swanson, Suzuki, Happ, Steele, those 5 guys can be 5 of your better players on a really good team. Obviously, they need to fill it.
Yes.
But yeah, look, I'm not a Jed Hoyer apologist by any means. He needs to do better. I think his biggest issue right now is, I think, the marriage to the manager. I mean, we continue to see report after report that he thinks the manager is doing a great job. And at this point, just like Eric Hosmer, when Eric Hosmer started to struggle, it's not on Eric Hosmer anymore. It's the guy that's putting him in that position. That's
Right.
kind of where I'm at with David Ross, where it's like, dude, you're not even commenting on it. Like, if this is your guy, like, when you go 6-16 and 1-11 in two run or less games, somebody has to be blamed. So if it's not the roster and it's not the manager, right? Like, it's either Jed or Ross for the most part, right? It's either the guy choosing to put the players out there, or the guy deciding when and where they play. And so Hoyer's telling you it's not David, then who is it? I mean, there's nobody to blame. Fulmer belongs, somewhere not near the bullpen right now. You gave him $4 million and you could have had Matt Moore, right?
Right. Or Chafin
or Estevez.
Oh, he wasn't on your radar, was he?
No, but he should have been, because look at the year he's having.
Right.
He got 2 years, $13 million. He's one of the best relievers in the world.
Right. And if Jed doesn't come out on Tuesday, I'll leave no stone unturned about that.
2023 was the year for David Ross. 2024.
2023, 2024. Say it properly, please.
What?
It's not 2023. That's done.
Sorry?
2023. No one says 2023.
Really?
Yeah. 2023, 2024.
Hey, Sarah, take note of that. Make sure it's out of my daily breakdown. If this team's 20-26 next year at this time, I'll be giving Jed Hoyer the same treatment I'm giving our skipper.
Right. And I won't be the host of the show.
Yeah, right. No, but in 2024, you're gonna be coaching teams in Texas, dude.
So I also, speaking of interviews, dude,
Austin.
I'll be keeping an eye and ear on Cubs coverage on Tuesday.
The bachelorette party capital of the world.
Tuesday's a big day for 670 The Score Cubs coverage. Yeah. I'll be listening to the Ian Happ interview. I'll be taking notes. I'll be listening to the David Ross interview. I'll be taking notes. And if I'm available when Nico Horner's on, I'll be taking notes as well.
I took notes on the Jeff Passan interview on 1000, and my note was, he thinks we stink.
Right. And quite frankly, I'm going to start holding these hosts accountable, especially that Happ interview. They talk about coffee a lot.
Yeah, well, they'll probably talk to Ross about like strudel or like breakfast pastries or something along those lines.
Well, the Cubs do return to action on Tuesday, and
excited. Can't wait.
We're going to preview that series coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by So Rare, a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB ball clubs. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, So Rare managers truly own their fantasy experience, collecting, buying, selling, and competing with player cards against global opponents to win epic rewards. Win or lose, you still own your cards, and there's no cost to play. Head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com to draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon to start playing today. The Cubs play the Mets at 6:40 p.m. Central Tuesday, and you can listen to every pitch with the Cubs hometown broadcast on SiriusXM on the SXM app. Search Cubs, or tune in to channel 844 and catch the Cubs all season long on SiriusXM. The Metropolitans in town for a 3-game set with the Northsiders. Cubs-Mets at Wrigley. All games are at 6:40 Central. Smiley versus Senga, Stroman versus McGill, and Tyone versus Carrasco. Kodai Senga was much discussed on this program this past winter. He eventually signed with the Metropolitans for 5 years and 75 M's. Senga so far in 43 innings, Sam, 3.77 ERA and 55 strikeouts. And that Thursday ball game, will be dubbed the 8+ ERA ball game, as Tyone has an 8.10 ERA, Carrasco has an 8.68
But Carrasco's been
earned
hurt,
run
hasn't he?
average. I believe that's correct. So Cubs Mets this week, and that's pretty much it, dude.
Well, I'll break it down for you. What's McGill's numbers?
He has like an ERA like the high 3s, low 4s.
Yeah, so he's been fine.
Yeah, he has been. No one's heard of him.
Good day for the Chicago Cubs today without playing, as the ball club up north and the ball club down to your southwest. Both those teams were defeated. Pittsburgh won. They beat Texas in a little bit.
But will it ever matter, though?
And the Cincinnati Reds defeated the St. Louis Cardinals after a couple bowls of chili. Look, this is a must-win series, guys. I like to get greedy and go 5-1 in your next 6, but you have to win a game that's close first. This is a really important series. Sanga's going to miss a lot of bats, but he's going to walk a lot of guys. I think patience will be key tomorrow. I expect the Cubs to have some. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't know a ton about McGill. I know his brother was on the Chicago Cubs a couple years ago, and that wasn't a great stint. And Cookie Carrasco is definitely getting up there in age. And no, it's his nickname.
No, it's good. I'm just laughing.
He's getting up there in age and really struggled his last outing. So the Cubs, I mean, this is a gift for the Cubs. They're missing Verlander and Scherzer, but they also just got shut out by Taijuan Walker and have been dominated by Patrick Corbin. So who knows what's going to happen? I think it's look. The Mets are playing really well right now. They turned out around their season last week with like 4 straight really, really tight comeback wins late. But maybe that's a good omen for the Cubs, because every time they play a team that's doing terrible, they lose. So hopefully they can win this series, sweep the Reds, have a 5-1 homestand, or a 5-1 6-game stretch before the Tampa Bay 27 Yanks come to town.
Yeah, no, it's a phenomenal breakdown by you. And, of course, the Mets are managed by Buck Showalter, one of the few veterans remaining in our game. It's him, Francona.
Pete Alonso leading the league in home runs. Starling Marte off to a slow start. McNeil's been heating up a little bit. Nimmo's a pest at the top of the order. Their catcher, that top prospect, Alvarez, has been starting to hit. They got a great lineup. They just haven't really been hitting.
They brought up a couple other prospects. Vientos.
Yeah, Beatty.
Alvarez, you already say him?
Yeah, no, I said him.
Yeah.
No, they've been hitting under like what you expect, but hopefully the Cubs can shut them down and win a series.
And Carlos Correa is not on this team.
No, and he's hitting like a lightweight. So
right. And all right, well, we're gonna keep going here. We're gonna get this unless there's anything else you wanted to say.
No, and I want to say this because we may go live. Oh no, we probably won't because you'll be there. But we may go live this week. Look, if they win 12-2 tomorrow, nobody text me. Okay, I only want a message and I only want tweets if they win a close, tight ball game.
Right, and you are correct. I may be at that ball game,
and I'm sorry for that, man.
And I may buy my tickets the day of the game, and with Game Time, buying tickets to your favorite event shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports. Music, comedy, and theater near you with killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee. You can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Just takes 2 taps and the tickets are yours. And they're the great place for day of tickets. I'm considering going to Wrigley on Tuesday night. I'll be around the ballpark, and I'm going to try to do that with Game Time. I'm going to create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off my first purchase. And terms do apply. Again, creating an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off to download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed with Game Time. We bring back the trivia segment to close out the Tuesday episode. Trying to close out with a little fun and games as the Cubs are 20-26 on the season.
I'm going to go with C.
Okay. And it's not multiple choice today, actually. I wanted to make it more challenging. So,
awesome.
Christopher Morel has 8 home runs in his first 11 games this season.
Yeah.
Can you name the other 3 Cubs players in team history
No.
to hit 8 homers in an 11-game span.
Okay.
So
I thought you
not
were gonna
first
say-
11, but it just happens for Morel to be first 11, but an 11-game span,
I'm gonna
3
s-
players.
I'm going to say Samuel Sosa.
Correct?
I'm going to say Alfonso Soriano.
I'm sorry, 4 players. My fault.
Oh, you don't even know the question, dude.
Yeah. No. No, what was it?
Sosa and Soriano, I said.
Oh no, we're recording too late.
Is
I'm
it
gonna start laughing. I'm gonna
Soriano's
have a
not?
laugh attack.
He's not
dude.
correct.
I'm sorry?
Soriano.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just not listening.
Is he right or no?
No, that's right.
Okay.
And that was
geez.
the most recent one, 2013, a decade ago.
Okay, so Sosa and Soriano. Can you do me a favor and just humor me a bit and just give me? You don't have to give me the years, but give me some sort of ballpark era. They've been around a long time. Like
60s.
Okay, 60. Okay, so that and then what's the other one?
I believe 70s.
Dave Kingman.
Yeah, that's correct, dude.
And then 60s has got to be it's either Ernie or Billy, and I don't want to get it wrong. I'm gonna say Billy Williams.
And that's the show. As Sam goes 4 for 4.
I'll be clipping that, dude.
Shout out to the everydayers who are with us all 5 episodes throughout the week. And you can become an everydayer by checking us out each and every weekday.
Congratulations to the Nuggets.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button for long time goes on YouTube.
This team stinks.
And smash the like button for the algorithm, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.